Well, it's coming up to 3 years since we recorded our Pendulum Suite, and I just thought it'd be a good idea to speak a little bit about the music, about the arrangement, and about why we chose Pendulum. So I got introduced to Pendulum in 2005. I was at uni in Manchester, and a friend of mine, Jules Gilchrist, introduced me to the Hold Your Colour album. And at the time I was really into the music from the Matrix films, and it was this kind of blend of orchestral music and electronics. And there was one part of the film, I think it's a car chase in the film, and I was obsessed with that because of this blend of kind of club music, kind of house music, drum and bass, and orchestral music. So when I heard Hold Your Colour, it was kind of right up my street, really. And a friend of mine, John Davis, at uni, we used to listen to it. He was the DJ at loads of nights, and he used to do these mashups of Pendulum, and we used to just kind of have a lot of fun listening to their music. And so they've always been kind of, for the last sort of 10 years, they've been on my radar. And then we were chatting about suites to do, and I'd already been working on an Etherwood suite, and I thought we could have a kind of drum and bass themed day recording. And Rhiannon's a huge fan of Pendulum, to the point of being obsessed. So she was kind of enthusiastic about us doing this Pendulum thing. So I started working on the suite, and there were tunes that I was, that were my favourites, things like Slam and Propane Nightmares. And we'd also play in a band called Riot Jazz, and Sam, one of the trumpet players, had already done a medley for Riot Jazz. And so I knew it worked well in that kind of club environment, and I knew it worked well as a kind of genre blending thing, playing it with a brass band, which is what Riot Jazz is. So I have to give him credit, because I took his arrangement and kind of used some bits of it as a way to build mine. And so I started with some of the tunes from the Riot Jazz medley, Slam being one of them. And I was originally going to start the suite with that because it's such a huge tune, and recognisable. And I thought it would be a cool way to start, but it wasn't kind of mysterious or dramatic enough to like introduce the thing. I wanted something more mysterious. So I ended up finding this track that I'd actually never heard before. I'd been listening to Immersion, and it was one of my favourite albums kind of around the time it came out. But for some reason I didn't know this track, and so late in the writing process I found Genesis, and I thought, that's the one, that's what we need to... it's how they started the Immersion album, so I thought this is a great way of starting the suite. So I thought it was a good way of just being like, this is the start of something. And then we go into Slam. One of the things I really love about Pendulum's music is that it does work in this orchestral setting. I love the music that they produce, that electronic, the drum and bass mixed with kind of film music sound is incredible. But taken into just an orchestral arrangement works really well. And I've got a friend who actually said, it sounds like a 1970s cop thriller, like kind of a car chase or something, especially when it gets going in Slam. So if I just play you a little bit where it goes into kind of drum and bass groove. you know, you could be in a kind of you know, action film with the car chases and whatever else. So that really, it was after the recording session that this guy said that, and I thought that's really good to hear, because it's, you know, it's the Pendulum's music. There's no mistake that that's the theme from Slam, but it's you know, it made him think of a film. So I just kind of used a DJ technique, I guess, here, of just blending into another tune. I did a bar of just kind of modulating, so this bar just before Propane Nightmares. So we just kind of modulate up a major third from E flat minor to G minor. It's kind of one of my favourite devices. I think I stole it from Prokofiev, or I remember studying Prokofiev, and I was taught that it's a tertiary relationship, which I think was made up. But it's just, rather than moving from kind of like, you know, 5 to 1, or like a cycle of fifths where you would kind of go or like, you know, move like that. It's moving up a third, and so at the end of the phrase I just add, you know, a chord 5 of the next key. It's kind of nothing special really. But what I like to do is use these string risers, which will lead us to the next key, and a nice crescendo, which kind of just lifts you up. And the whole nature of moving from E flat minor to G minor is a lift. It's a lift up. So you can, even if you're not musically, you can hear that kind of lift up a little bit in the key. I love adding kind of bits of harmony to just change it up a little bit. So one thing I did here in the strings, so you've got the brass playing the melody in Propane Nightmares, and the woodwind as well. But in the strings you've got this kind of harmony suspension going on. And I just love kind of taking, you know, a melody that I love anyway and just putting my spin on it. I mean, they might think it's rubbish, but it kind of makes it different. And as well as just putting it onto orchestra, it uses the orchestra. We've got the different families of instruments. You've got the wind, brass and strings. And so it's nice to have each family doing something different rather than just all playing the same thing. So I'll just play that bit again. And so what I'm trying to do here, I mean, I've been into drum and bass music pretty much since I first heard the Pendulum kind of album back in 2005. So I had an understanding of it, but again, you take away the drums and the bass and you're left with, you know, harmony and melody. How do you kind of keep that momentum and rhythm? It's a bit like with all these electronic music artists reimagined in an orchestra. It's how do you keep the momentum? How do you keep the energy going? And so one technique I've used here is just having the strings moving. It's something that I've noticed looking at those John Williams scores, is that he's always got some movement. There's always something that's moving. It might not be the tune, it might not be you know, part of the original track, but it's something just as easy as having the lower strings playing their notes just as quavers. So you've got this dung, 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 dung. So I'll just isolate them. Take away the melody. So violas, cellos and basses are doing this. and they're just relentlessly moving forward. I mean, the melody itself moves the pace forward, but without the drums, you really need that, because on the original track you've got you know, electronic techniques and things like that, and the drums building up. So that's a nice simple trick. I mean, you could put that in any part of the orchestra really, but for me, there's nothing, you know, as satisfying as a driving string section, just dun 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 dun. I actually haven't got the Logic file for this track. I think I lost it on a drive that broke in 2017, which is a lesson in itself, because I must not have backed it up. I spent ages trying to look through all the drives that have got all the footage and audio, and I don't seem to have it. It's either that or it's on the drive somewhere else, but not being able to find it is why I'm now just using the master to go through this. I think that's the section that my mate said sounded like a cop show. You got this bam 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 bam. It's like Batman or something. And again, I've kind of taken liberty a bit with the strings. So this texture here, rather than just having everyone play down bum 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 bum, we've got little string rhythms kind of interjecting here. So you've got bum 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 bum, which is just adds a little bit of flourishing. And that with the woodwind as well, who are doing these kind of flourishes. Just adds it, so you've got these different colours coming in, which keeps things interesting. And so again, we then move into watercolour. Again, we've got the strings, woodwind. And one thing I love about the tunes is that they have these huge epic sing-along melodies. Again, I wanted to put that on trombone and French horn just to give it that epic quality. In fact, I wrote on here big. You know, this is this epic moment where you can imagine the crowd would sing along. As well as film music, it's a blend of electronic music and rock, really. It's kind of a heavy metal influence, I think, which again translates so well to the orchestra. And again, I've got the kind of bassoon and lower strings playing, you know, this driving harmony. I really like this. While we've got the brass kind of swelling with these chords. Which is just a really nice texture, I think, nice kind of orchestration. And then I remember thinking, I didn't know where Fasten Your Seatbelt could go, because all the, you know, a lot of Pendulum's tunes are drum and bass tempo. Obviously not all of them, but all the ones that I wanted to use. And then it got to Fasten Your Seatbelt, and it's more a dubsteppy kind of tempo. It's like a slow drum and bass tempo. And I remember thinking, how am I gonna fit this in? So I think I remember now, I used it as just a way of getting to a different key really. It was a transition. Sometimes I use tunes as just the transition. And so I've just modulated the tune here. So we're in G minor and then we go to F sharp minor. So we actually go down a semitone, which I wouldn't ordinarily do, but it's just kind of leading us towards this cheeky next section, which I really am kind of proud of with how we did Tarantula. I mean, you could be in a Disney film or something. I just really like the orchestration there, and it, you know, I remember MC Spider messaged us and said that's such a sick kind of rendition of the tune, because again we'd done this tune with Riot Jazz and Riot Jazz kind of plays it as is, which is great, you know, it's that kind of reggae heaviness, but to do it, you know, completely different with an oboe duet basically playing the tune, I just thought was really funny. And then one technique that I'm trying to think where I stole it from. I steal things from everywhere. I think that's, you know, if everyone's really honest, they'll say that they steal ideas. You know, you'll hear something and go, I want to use that. And so one thing that I've used a few times actually in a few of the suites is this string texture. So you've got tremolo, which is where you're like really fast with the bow, and you're glissandoing, which means to slide up to a note. And sulpont, which means playing on the bridge of the instrument, which gives a kind of really harsh sound, which combined together makes this really cool sound. I won't play Sibelius's version because it's a nightmare. I just love that sound. I think it was in the Home Alone soundtrack maybe, or maybe it was a Harry Potter, it might be one of the Harry Potter scores, something like The Chamber of Secrets. And there's just this really cool texture, and I just thought that's kind of a cool technique. And so yeah, it kind of opposite to what I've done with the other suites. I wanted to settle down at the end of this suite, and so we've started really fast and action-packed, and then we kind of slow the tempo down, because I always wanted to end the suite with The Island. That was one of my favourite kind of tunes, and it's a different tempo to the drum and bass stuff. It's a house tempo. And so I really wanted to end with that. So it was how to go down in tempo without it just kind of slowly coming to an end. And so I used Tarantula as another transition really. You've got its own little section, but then it transitions into Streamline. Now Streamline's one of those tracks that was on Hold Your Colour, and I just used to love it. I used to listen to it all the time, and I just wanted to incorporate it in some way. To Hold Your Colour. And a little bit of The Island creeping in there, so I really wanted to go emotional with Hold Your Colour. I thought the melody of the vocal is quite emotional anyway, and taken out of context again, you can really do, you know, something different with melodies. But as we're going towards the island, I've brought it in. So in the flute here, we've got the strings playing Hold Your Colour. And then the flute comes in with the island melody. And then the bassoon takes over. You know, so you might not notice it, but when it gets to the island, you've already heard that theme. It's, again, I guess it's a classical kind of technique. It's showing something so that when it comes in its full form, you kind of like, oh, I've heard that before. So I'll carry on playing it. So the island again. Hold Your Colour. The island. Playing the island. I mean, again, I bark on about film music, but this could just be, you know, the end of Pirates of the Caribbean again. I keep mentioning Pirates of the Caribbean, but it could be like it's such an epic melody that reorchestrated. It's like, you know, the Pendulum movie or something like that. And again, I've moved from A minor to C minor, so I've gone up a third, up a major third, a minor third. I just really like that step up. It's very, very heroic. So yeah, I'll just go from before the key change again. And so I decided to go full on epic at the end. Again, very John Williams. You've got the theme kind of repeated and it modulates again. And I remember spending quite a while, I couldn't decide where it should modulate. I think, let me have a little... I think I couldn't decide whether to change again in the last bar. And I think I originally wanted it to stay on the C sharp, so if I just move that down a semitone. So I think I originally wanted this. Which is also epic, but I opted for this. I mean, I don't know which version you prefer, but I just really liked that. It's just stepping up and up and up, and it's, you know, it's epic. All from the beginning, where Genesis is this mysterious kind of moody thing, you go through the drum and bass tempo and then you get to this just heroic epic finale. So I'm really proud of how it turned out, really, because Pendulum, as all of these artists, is such an influence to me, and I really wanted to, you know, pay my respects to their music. It's not about taking credit for their music or anything like that. It's just like, wow, look at this thing, like look at an orchestra playing Pendulum. A lot of the musicians had heard Pendulum, but some of them hadn't, and so it's always nice when you've got a split of musicians who are like, oh, I love those tunes, and then some musicians who are like, I don't know those, but I'm going to go and check it out. It's just really exciting on the day, you know, to hear the music come together, to hear the musicians' feedback and how they, you know, their input as well, their ideas, and then also kind of go away thinking that, you know, we've done something new, and we've kind of opened up new possibilities in the orchestral field, you know.